Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. Home field advantage, when done correctly, can absolutely be a factor in a team winning a game. You can absolutely use the crowd to your advantage and use the home fans in your favor. Make sure the fans are loud, make sure the fans are bouncing out of their seats, and make sure that the fans are making absolutely deafening noise. And you can cause some damage. You can make it impossible for the opponents to make audibles at the line of scrimmage because they can't communicate. You can force a ton of false start penalties. You can rattle quarterbacks and get them to call timeouts prematurely. We've seen this happen countless of times before. From the Seahawks fans famously making so much noise against the Giants in 2005 that 8 false start penalties were committed, to the times where play had to be stopped and the quarterback had to walk away from the line of scrimmage because he couldn't hear anything. John Elway was notorious for doing that in a hostile environment. The 12th man won't be the reason you win or lose a game, but it absolutely can be one of the reasons that you prevail at the end of the day. But have you ever heard of a home field disadvantage, where the fans are part of the reason that you lose a game? And I don't mean that a team allowed the visiting fans to take over the stadium. I don't mean that the home fans did something illegal that resulted in a penalty or a stoppage, like throwing things onto the field or rushing the field. And I don't mean the fans being hostile toward their own team and messing up their psyche. I mean the fans were just doing what fans do, and because they acted like fans, their team was unable to win the game. Seems bizarre, right? I go to the game, I'm cheering my team on at the appropriate moments, and I'm part of the reason why we lost the game? Well, for these fans that you've been watching this whole time, that's exactly what happened to some extent. Because in 1992, during a Monday Night Football game between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, part of the reason that the Jets lost, amazingly enough, was because their own fans were too loud. If it seems strange and counterintuitive, don't worry, because we're going to dive into that situation over the next 15 or so minutes. Because this is the story behind what might just be, considering the circumstances, not just the strangest fan controversy in Jets history, but the strangest fan controversy in the over 50-year history of Monday Night Football. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand the importance of this game and how the game itself was going. It's October 26, 1992. It's Week 8 of the NFL season, and we've got a nationally televised game on our hands over at Giants Stadium on Monday Night Football between two bitter AFC East rivals in the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. For the team that's the subject of our story, the New York Jets, this is a big game for two reasons. Number one, the season has been, shall we say, a disaster thus far. I did a video about one of the games to take place in 1992 that did not go according to plan at all. So you can learn more about that and just how bad the Jets were to start the year off by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Entering this game, the Jets were sitting ugly with a 1-5 record. If you win this game and improve to 2-5 with 9 games to go, sitting 2 games back of the final wildcard spot, you're actually still in it, and you give yourself, at the bare minimum, a chance if you have a good second half of the season. Lose this game and drop to 1-6, and yeah, your season is toast. No two ways about it. But number two, this game meant a ton to the Jets because the Buffalo Bills were a giant monkey on their back that had grown to a gorilla and that was showing no signs of letting go anytime soon. On September 13th, 1987, on opening day of that season, the Jets defeated the Bills in Buffalo by a final score of 31-28. That was the last time the Jets won a game against the Bills. Each of the last 9 meetings, with sweeps every year from 1988 to 91, were won by the Bills. And a good chunk of those meetings were one-possession games that just couldn't go New York's way for whatever reason. The Bills were becoming to the Jets what the Dolphins were to the Bills in the 1970s. So if you can win this game in front of a national television audience and finally break the curse, man, that would feel good. However, on this day, in heartbreaking fashion, the 10th time would not be the charm, as the Bills would somehow find a way to win yet again. Even though the Bills trailed the Jets 20-17 with 2 minutes left, needing to drive the length of the field to win the game in regulation, and needing to go at least 40-some-odd yards to set themselves up for a game-tying field goal, future Hall of Fame quarterback Jim Kelly engineered a masterful drive. 2 huge completions to Don Beebe, with one putting the Bills at midfield, and the other one keeping the drive alive on 3rd and 10, got the Bills into field goal range. From there, Thurman Thomas capped it off with a 12-yard catch for the score to give the Bills a 24-20 victory. Credit to the Jets for putting up a fight. This was a game that no one expected them to win, and Vegas had them as 2-possession underdogs. But once again, when it came to playing the Bills, they drew the short end of the stick. Close but no cigar. The curse would live on for another game. Now, there were many reasons why the Jets lost this game. However, aside from their porous defense in the final 2 minutes of the contest, and another rough day at the office for rookie quarterback Browning Nagel, who had no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, just 147 net passing yards, and a passer rating of 47.3, roughly 30 points below the league-wide average of that year, one of the big ones was a pretty bad running game. Over the first 2.5 quarters, the running game was fine, as Blair Thomas, the infamous draft bust and 2nd overall pick from 1990 who did not live up to the billing at all, was actually not playing terrible for once. But when it mattered most, oh man, did the running game collapse. On the final 5 drives that the Jets had in the game, they only scored once. Good luck beating the 2-time defending conference champions and one of the best teams in football, if you were that inefficient. And part of why those struggles happened was because of their running game, as on their final 12 carries of the game on offense, so excluding a fake punt that they ran since that's an entirely different unit with entirely different personnel, the team netted just 20 yards. What you're watching is a compilation of those runs. There's a good chunk of runs that get stuffed, that lose a yard, or pick up 3 yards at most. In fact, on the final 12 carries of the game for the Jets, only one of them went for more than 3 yards. If you're doing the math at home, 20 yards on 12 carries gets you 1.6 yards per carry, which is so bad that if the Jets had 6 tries to get a first down instead of 4, it would still not be enough. But there was one player that was not playing in this game, even though he was active. There was one player just sitting on the sidelines, waiting for his chance to go into the game and make a difference in the running game. And he never got his number called. That man? This player right here. Arguably the greatest running back in Jets history at the time, and today, arguably the 2nd greatest running back in franchise history, behind Hall of Famer Curtis Martin. Freeman McNeil. He's a member of the Jets Ring of Honor for a reason, because at his peak, he was one of the best running backs in all of football. After getting drafted by the team in the first round of the 1981 NFL Draft with the 3rd pick, he responded by making it to 3 Pro Bowls, and by leading the NFL in rushing during the strike-shortened 1982 season, where he averaged the league-best 5.2 yards per carry and was named an AP First-Team All-Pro, as he guided the Jets to an appearance in the AFC Championship. Yes, by this point in his career, McNeil was 33 years old, and was in his 12th season in the NFL, so he was definitely not what he once was, but he was still a highly efficient runner who could provide a spark in the running and receiving game when needed. You don't amass over 11,000 yards from scrimmage by complete accident. Heck, so far on the season, he was averaging well over 4.3 yards per carry. And in 1991, even though he got 51 carries, so it's obviously not a giant sample size by any means, he had 300 yards, coming out to 5.9 yards per carry. For some perspective on how good that was, keeping in mind that he also did this in his 11th season in the league, excluding quarterbacks, there were 87 players to have at least 32 carries over the course of the 1991 season, or 2 carries per game. Of those 87 players, McNeil, at 5.9 yards per carry, actually had the second highest yards per carry average in football. The only player who was better was Ronnie Harmon of the San Diego Chargers, who had 6.1 yards per carry. So he was still a pretty solid running back. So that raises the question, why on earth was McNeil not in the game if the Jets couldn't get anything going on the ground late? Why not put the established veteran in there? McNeil wasn't on the injury report, and he seemed perfectly fine. Heck, he spoke all week about the importance of beating the Bills and winning on Monday Night Football for the first time in 6 years, saying, "It's been a long time since we won one." So why wasn't he in the game? Well, that's where things get weird. Because as it turned out, the reason that Freeman McNeil was not able to play in this game, which may have led to the Jets losing the game, was because of the behavior of Jets fans on this day. Allow me to explain. As the day drew night, and we were getting closer and closer to game time, the man that you've been watching this whole time, Freeman McNeil, was ready to go for this one. I should note that a week before, he had minor ear surgery, but it was nothing serious, seeing as he wasn't even listed on the final injury report. He was going to play. However, by the time the game started, his ear began to swell up. The swelling led to his hearing getting impaired, which led to serious headaches, which then led to migraines. And if you've ever had a migraine, no matter how old you are, or how tough you are, or how pain-resistant you are, trust me, a migraine is absolutely painful. Your head hurts like crazy, and all you want to do is close your eyes and not see anything. You don't want to see any light whatsoever. It is a horrible, horrible feeling. So why did his ear swell up during the contest? Because the Jets crowd was so loud. Seriously. The reason why McNeil was not in the game on third down situations and was not in the game in the fourth quarter when they could have used him most was because the Jets' own fan base was incredibly loud and was hurting him. When you combine the prestige of Monday Night Football with people drinking hours beforehand due to a late start time, with a divisional rivalry, with a close contest, yeah, people are going to be losing their minds. And the Jets fans were so loud on this day that it actually caused Freeman McNeil to miss the game. The crowd actually injured their own player. Now, there seemed to be 2 ways that the Jets could have worked around this, with one of them being way more feasible than the other. Option 1 was to quite simply tell the crowd to be quiet and to shut up. However, this wouldn't work for obvious reasons. Number 1, try telling 75,000 people to shut up. Unless you're Beyonce doing the mute challenge, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. The fans are not going to golf clap every time you make a good play. Number 2, you want the fans to be loud and to make noise, because it makes it that much tougher for opposing offenses to do anything, and to change the signals, and to call audibles. The thought never even crossed head coach Bruce Coslet's mind, saying, the crowd noise created a buzz in his ear, and it gave him a migraine. He couldn't hear a thing, and I'm not about to tell the crowd to be quiet, if you all get my drift. I should note that earlier in the week, New York Giants head coach Ray Handley, in yet another disastrous moment of his disastrous tenure as the team's ringleader, criticized the Giants fans for criticizing him, saying that the team had lost its home field advantage. Coslet was not about to go down that road. So yeah, I completely understand why you can't just tell all the fans to be quiet so that McNeil could play in the game. Plus, you don't want to let the other team know that you're hurting and that you're in serious pain. But option 2, and I'm not sure why the Jets didn't do this if they really wanted to get McNeil in the game, was to just not have McNeil on the sidelines while the team was on defense. Why couldn't they just do that? Have McNeil go into the tunnel and go into a dark, quieter area when the Jets were on defense. Then when the Jets are on offense, have someone go back to the tunnel and the area and get McNeil. The crowd's quiet when you're on offense anyways, so it seemed like this strategy could have worked. Again, I'm not sure why the Jets didn't opt for it, but either way, McNeil could not play in this game. As McNeil said, they were concerned, and so was I. I had a headache the whole second half. And the crowd was so loud, causing McNeil's ear to ring and buzz, that according to running back coach Kippy Brown, McNeil simply could not go. As he said, I started to put him in on the goal line play in the third quarter, but he wasn't quite right. He wasn't Freeman. Freeman is always on the go, and it seemed like his equilibrium wasn't right. Of all the things to put on a box score, did not play, too loud, is up there with one of the weirdest ones. Now, this is not the first incident involving Jets fans on Monday Night Football. Far from it, in fact. I talked about an incident that happened in 1979 when the Jets took on the Vikings at Shea Stadium. That was so bad that a lot of fans got arrested. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And in 1988, when the Jets played the Bills at Giants Stadium, you had the infamous Pumpkin Game, where 41 fans got arrested and where fires were being lit in the stands of the stadium. However, unlike those two incidents, I really can't blame Jets fans here. I really can't. They had no idea that McNeil was hurting with a migraine. They had no idea to be quiet. They didn't know any better. They were acting like fans should. They were acting like fans are expected to act at a football game. It's just unfortunate that by doing so, they accidentally caused one of their players to get injured in the process. When the Jets and Bills play each other on Monday night to open up the 2023 season, I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be absolutely insane. New season, new franchise quarterback, plus a divisional rivalry in prime time. It is going to be nuts. But no matter how loud it gets, I don't think we'll see a situation like the one that happened more than 3 decades before, where the fans got too loud that it actually works against them and it's to their detriment. Because in 1992, in the eyes, or should I say the ears of Freeman McNeil, the Jets fans were just a little too rowdy. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.